Hi everyone, in this video we're going to be doing things a little bit different, probably as you've already noticed. I'm not going to be spending any time in front of a monitor editing images as we normally do in our tutorials with Zoner Photo Studio, but rather I would like to take you through a sort of guide or a lighting guide and different styles of lighting you can use to amplify and raise the level of either your still photography or film if you're into both of those. And what we're going to be using throughout the entire demo in this video is I'm going to be using what is called a softbox, and softboxes are used very commonly because they don't create any harsh shadows or lines. It's a nice soft light that clearly amplifies or lights up the subject's face. And this first scenario that we have and we're using right now is called flat lighting. And the advantage to flat lighting is that it's very standard, very easy to set up. You just place the light in front of you like this. You shine it directly at the subject's face. It gives you a nice two-dimensional view without any peculiar shadows or anything. And also it's very easy to use and set up. So for example, if you're alone in the field and you want to capture something or maybe report on something, it's super simple. You just grab a light that you might have, stick it on a camera, and you're ready to go. So let's check out what other types of lightings we have, and we'll start with the next one right now. And this is our second type of lighting, so number 2. It's called the butterfly type of lighting, or butterfly lighting. It sounds a bit silly, but the reason for that, and I'm not sure if you can really see it on my mustache, but when you look underneath the nose here, there's a little bit of a sort of butterfly silhouette, if you will. And this light is, the only difference between the flat light and this is that the light is raised a little bit up and then angled at a 40-degree or so angle down at the subject. And this gives a more sort of artistic, or already kind of it's just a more dynamic look to the lighting. And I like this one a lot more than, for example, just the flat lighting. But again, all of these different lighting styles is just based on personal preference and how you're able to do it if you're by yourself or with somebody else to help you out with that. So much for the butterfly lighting. Let's go to the next one. All right, lighting effect number 3, loop lighting. Very similar to the butterfly that we had before. The difference here is that it's also angled at a 40-degree angle or so on the subject, and what we did is moved it to the side a little bit more. And what it starts to do is of course you can see the entire side of my face here, but on this side you already start to see some nuances in the contours of my face. And again, it's just another way of introducing a more dynamic look to what you're trying to capture. And it's just a matter of taste and a different way of how you can capture your subject, because you'll have a lot more contrast than you would with something a little bit more straight on. And now let's move on to our next lighting. All right, number 4 in today's lesson. This style of lighting is called the Rembrandt lighting, and it's based on, of course, the Renaissance Dutch painter who was very popular, or his style incorporated this sort of angle and contour on the face. And a very typical and telltale sign of this is that when you look here, you can see a sort of triangle that's formed on the side of your cheek. And this side of my face is quite dark. This side, of course, is completely lit up. And again, it's another way of introducing a different kind of dynamic to your photography or filming style. It's nothing that you have to do, just a style and an option you have, but I think that this style is quite dynamic, sort of mysterious and interesting, and I'm sure that's why Mr. Rembrandt chose it while he was doing his paintings this way. And this is number 5, also known as split lighting. And the reason it's called split lighting is because it splits up your face into 2 sections like this. The light is directly to my right, your left. It's shining directly at me from an angle. And this creates a completely different dynamic where a part of my face should be in shadow, if not completely dark. And if it's not completely dark, the reason is that the studio we're in is not exactly perfect. So I have a lot of reflection coming off a white wall that's next to me here. And just to play around more with what you can do with this sort of lighting setup is that we can use a reflector like this. Whoop. It's a big one. All right, so you can use this light, or use this, reflector to sort of, let's see if I can get the effect here. So now it's off. You can see how that plays out. And then when I use the reflector, I can use these split lighting to kind of create a little bit of a different effect when I use in conjunction with the reflector. So that's how you can play around with a reflector. Okay, we've gone back to one of the settings we had before, which was the loop lighting. I like this lighting a lot because it's a bit dynamic, but it also plays a bit with the contours of your face and enhances or just creates a little bit of a story, if you will. I also forgot to mention that when you are using the reflector, you don't necessarily need to have an expensive piece of equipment. You can use something as simple as a piece of cardboard with white paint on it, for example, and that can play with the lighting just as much as something more expensive. Anyway, the entire point of this video is just to give you an idea of how lighting is truly important. Loop lighting like this is great if you want to enhance your portrait photography, for example, but you can also go to something more dynamic like the Rembrandt lighting, or also even the split lighting, just to play with the shadows and contours. It's all up to you. But I think loop lighting is a great sort of middle ground of not being too artsy, but also being better than just a boring, straight on sort of flat light that we talked about earlier. Anyway, I hope this video was useful to you and that you can see how lighting truly affects the products of your filming or your photography. As I said earlier in the video, today's demo was we used the softbox, which is a light with a filter on it. The light falls onto the subject, or onto my face for that matter, in a much softer way. It doesn't create as harsh sort of differences in the shadows and places where light is. Of course, if you used a different kind of lighting, and there are tons of them in the industry that you can use, you're going to have a completely different look and effect. And of course, you can play around with angles, where the lighting is coming from, just to, again, enhance or change the entire look of what you're trying to accomplish. And at the end of the day, it's all about having fun, finding your own style, and just toning it, playing around with it, and finding a nuance that fits you and your style. I hope this video was useful for you. For those that already know about these lighting styles, I hope it was a nice sort of refresher course. And for those of you that haven't really considered or heard about these lighting styles before, I hope that inspired you to go out and play around with lighting, the most important part of our industry and our art. Thanks for checking out this video. I hope you liked it. Give us a thumbs up if so. If not, give us a thumbs up anyway. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and I look forward to seeing you in another video. It could be similar to this or a little bit different. We'll see. And I look forward to seeing you there. And have a good one. See you next time.